I want you to consider a word or a symbol that is deeply meaningful to your own heritage. Now imagine that a group you do not identify with begins to use that sign or phrase so consistently to represent an ideology you detest, an immoral idea, a taboo, that eventually you find you cannot use it in public without having to preface it with an apology. What does it feel like to lose that shorthand? What does it feel like to watch a source of comfort become a source of conflict? There are two ways to kill a word. Both succeed the same way, by making the word unreachable in ordinary thought, something you flinch past rather than use. Erase it, and it disappears from the record. Hijack it, and the word survives, but now carries a second cost. Use it, and you risk being mistaken for whoever hijacked it. Erasure is silent. Hijacking leaves a scar, and the ones left holding it are the people the word used to belong to. Call it vocabulary hijacking. It does not need a ministry of truth. It needs time, repetition, and an audience that trusts the word more than it questions it. 6 cases show this mechanism at work across 6 unrelated contexts. None of them share a common adversary. That is the point. This is not a story about one ideology weaponizing language. It is a story about a mechanism any group can use, and most eventually do. Begin with a shape older than any of the movements now associated with it. The swastika is a Sanskrit word meaning well-being, and for thousands of years before the 20th century, it appeared across Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain traditions as a symbol of prosperity, auspicious beginnings, and the turning of the sun. It marked temple doors and wedding invitations. It had no association with violence at all. In the 1920s and 30s, a German nationalist movement adopted a version of this shape, rotated it, and attached it to a program of conquest and genocide. Scholars and legal bodies increasingly use a separate name for that specific version, the Hakenkreuz, precisely to preserve the distinction this piece is making. The shape itself did not change. Its meaning inverted so completely that today the same mark that once welcomed guests to a Hindu wedding can, in most Western contexts, get a building evacuated. Millions of people who have used this symbol as a blessing for millennia now watch their sacred sign function as a synonym for the worst atrocity of the modern era. This piece will not reproduce the Nazi Hakenkreuz on screen. That is a deliberate choice, not an oversight, and it is worth naming directly. A film about symbol hijacking that has to withhold the symbol in order to be shown safely is not a limitation on the argument. It is the argument, playing out in real time. Move to a second sign, decades later, but the same pattern. Islamic tradition holds that Prophet Muhammad used a signet seal to authenticate letters and treaties, engraved with his name and title as messenger. Historical sources describe the seal as a mark of correspondence and diplomatic legitimacy, used in the ordinary business of governance. In 2014, a militant group calling itself the Islamic State placed a seal of this kind, white text on a black field, at the center of its flag. The choice was deliberate. It borrowed the visual authority of an object tied to prophetic legitimacy and stamped it onto a project of mass violence that the overwhelming majority of Muslim scholars and institutions have condemned as a departure from Islamic law, not an expression of it. The seal did not change. What it now signals to most of the world at a glance has almost nothing to do with its origin. Here again, this piece describes the symbol in more precision than it shows it. The insignia will not appear in recognizable form. Two groups already have reason to react to this image on sight for opposite reasons, and neither reaction serves the point being made. A third case operates at the level of a single word rather than an image. Jihad, in its root sense, means striving or struggle. Classical Islamic scholarship divides it into an inner struggle against one's own moral failings, described in the tradition as the greater jihad, and an outer struggle that includes debate, community building, and, in specific bounded circumstances, defensive warfare. Most Muslims who use the word in daily life are describing effort toward self-improvement or communal good, not combat. Two separate hijackings have happened to this one word. Militant groups have narrowed jihad down to its most violent possible reading and elevated that reading to the whole meaning of the term. At the same time, a portion of Western media and political discourse has done something similar in reverse, using jihad as a blanket synonym for terrorism, regardless of context. The word gets fought over from both directions, and the group that loses the most is the ordinary speaker caught in the middle. The fourth case has no settled ending because it is still being argued over in real time, and it carries a confusion built into the word itself. Antisemitism has a long and well-documented core meaning: prejudice, hatred, or discrimination against Jews as Jews. In 2016, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance adopted a working definition that, alongside that core meaning, listed illustrative examples, including certain ways of criticizing the State of Israel. Supporters argue that anti-Jewish hatred has historically adapted to disguise itself as political critique. Critics argue the expanded definition recasts legitimate criticism of Israeli state policy as hatred of Jews, narrowing space for political speech. The word itself carries an older confusion worth naming. Antisemitism is built on Semitic, a linguistic term covering Arabic, Hebrew, Amharic, Tigrinya, and Aramaic, spoken by hundreds of millions of people who are not Jewish. But the word antisemitism never meant hatred of Semitic language speakers in general. It was coined in 1879 by a German agitator looking for a scientific-sounding replacement for the blunter German word for Jew hatred. And from its very first use, it meant one thing only. There was no earlier, broader meaning that later got narrowed. The confusion runs the other way. A term built to sound broad that was never broad to begin with. That mismatch still causes real damage today. It gets invoked, sometimes in bad faith, to argue that Arabic speakers cannot, by definition, be anti-Semitic, since they are linguistically Semitic too. And it leaves anti-Arab and anti-Amazi hostility, each a serious and well-documented problem in its own right, without a comparably weighted word of their own. The fifth case shows the same mechanism operating without malice at all. In 1958, a British designer named Gerald Holtham combined two semaphore letters, N and D, for nuclear and disarmament, inside a circle, and gave it away for free, refusing to copyright it, so that anyone opposing nuclear war could use it without asking permission. It first appeared on placards during a 4-day march from London to a nuclear weapons plant, at the height of a Cold War, when the prospect of nuclear annihilation was not abstract to the people carrying it. It became the international peace symbol, and for decades it meant something specific: opposition to a very real threat, carried by people willing to risk arrest to say so. Because it was never copyrighted, anyone could use it, and eventually everyone did. It appears today on cigarette packets, jewelry, and novelty keychains, worn by people with no connection to the movement that made it, and no memory of what it was made to oppose. The symbol did not lose its meaning to hatred. It lost specificity to something gentler and just as effective: convenience. 6 different cases, 6 different mechanisms. State violence rewriting a blessing into a threat. A militant group borrowing prophetic authority for a project most of the faith rejects. A word split by 2 opposing groups, each narrowing it toward their own argument. A definition contested in real time, sitting on top of a word whose scope was too narrow from the moment it was coined. A symbol worn thin by simple overuse. What they share is the outcome. In every case, the people who held the original meaning now face a cost every time they use their own word or symbol. No one erased these words. They are all still in the dictionary, still on the flag, still in the prayer. That is what makes this different from Newspeak. The words are all still here. It is what they cost to use that changed. 2 of them, this piece could not even fully show you. That is not a production note. It is the scar made visible. A word you have to explain every time you use it is not fully yours anymore. Sometimes it is not even fully yours to display.